The best eyeshadows of all time. This was a hard list. Very hard. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. If you guys are new here, I'm Stacy. I feature unfiltered makeup opinions and honest reviews, so please consider subscribing. Leave me a comment at any time during this video. But today we're talking about the best eyeshadow palettes of all time, according to me. And these are eyeshadow palettes that I have tried throughout my entire YouTube career, which has been about 6 years now, which is hard to believe as well. Buckle up. There's some eyeshadow palettes. If you have them, if you don't have them, take them out, start loving on them again, start giving them some goodness, because these are, to me, some of the best palettes of all time. I have some brands in here that are discontinued. They are no longer in business, but I also have some brands that you can still purchase from right now, and we have limited edition ones as well. Actually, let's talk about the ones that you can still purchase from. I'm just kind of like grabbing it on my pile here, but let's talk about Stone Cold Fox. To me, this is one of the best eyeshadow palettes of all time. This is a 30 shade eyeshadow palette, completely cool toned in nature. It also is very nicely color coded for somebody who doesn't dabble in makeup a lot, who likes cool tones. And honestly, anytime that an eyeshadow palette is like more color coded by row, it's actually easier for your eye to kind of go across it and create color combinations. And it's just more aesthetically appealing to me, to anybody, really. When you think of like graphic design, having something that's too busy, it really just like stimulates your brain way too much. Stone Cold Fox from Colourpop is still currently available on their website. And it is 30 shades. I think it's like a $34 eyeshadow palette. Sometimes you can get it on sale. And this eyeshadow palette is all cool tones. It comes with a range of like mauve shades, some like lighter brownish mauve shades, also over in here. Then you have a black, a really dark, like this I could actually use for my eyebrows, I'm not gonna lie. It has some gray tones in here as well. And this is literally just like, you could do a pink tone that's mauve. You could do a, silver eye that is like gray in tone, that's like a complete like smoky eye, or you could do a classic smoky eye that's like brown and black with some of these mauve tones in here. So it is honestly like one of the best like neutral palettes of all time, but I also think it's like one of the best eyeshadow palettes of all time. I love Stone Cold Fox. This is actually one of my favorite palettes ever, and I actually had a 3 looks 1 palette go up with this eyeshadow palette when it was released, and I have used it so much since then. The other thing about this eyeshadow palette is that you can actually take a magnet and pull these out and curate them into a smaller, cooler toned eyeshadow, like color story, which is really nice as well. I think Colourpop did an excellent job on Stone Cold Fox. Cool tones, if they are your thing, definitely check out Stone Cold Fox. So let's stick with Colourpop, and I wanted to pull out this one. It is Blush Crush. Blush Crush is a peachy, purpley, pink color story. This isn't really like mauve. It's got more of like that peachy undertone, but to me, this screams like Valentine's Day. And honestly, I used to pair Blush Crush a lot with Stone Cold Fox. Like I loved the color combination of the two because this had like the purples in it. That one had the cool tone mauve colors, and it was just such a perfect combination. And this comes with a really beautiful iridescent purpley, it's like it is a super shock, but it does like a orangey peachy shift to it. It's so stunning on the eye. And this eyeshadow palette has been one of my favorites for a really long time. I remember walking into Ulta and I was like, I need this. And I had been looking for it and looking for it and looking for it. And I finally found it at my local Ulta because it sold out online at one point, and I was able to find it. I was so happy. So let's talk about What's Up Beauty. What's Up Beauty is an independently owned makeup brand, and I have the Geodes palette from What's Up Beauty. This is just so beautiful. This is one of my favorite palettes, and I think it's one of the best palettes of all time. It has 14 shades in it, and I've actually featured this in a couple of other videos for like holiday eyeshadow looks, because this is such a great holiday eyeshadow palette with all the iridescent multi-chrome shades that it has in here, but also the color story is just spot on, very on par for like my specific taste. But in general, I've seen so many people loving on this palette, leaving rave reviews for this palette. So I felt pretty confident about including this eyeshadow palette in here as well. Now, this eyeshadow palette has like, it's like mauve tones here, and then you have a kind of a warm leaning brown. You also have a like muted green, army green shade And depending on how you put it on, sometimes it looks kind of brown. And then you have this pop of mustardy yellow, which is really fun. But then the rest of these are multi-chromes and duochromes, which honestly is what makes up this palette. But because I really like I love cool tones. The matte shades really work for me in this palette. One of my favorite shades has to be, though, is this one. It's gotten a lot of use out of it. It is called Agate, and it is a pink to an orange duochrome shift. And this all across your lid is just absolutely stunning. And then my other favorite shade would be Crystal, which is the one right above it. And this is like an iridescent purple shade. So if like you want to add a little bit to your inner corner with this shade, you can even add this like all across your lid, and it's just so, so stunning. I had this, like I said, it was in my like my holiday palettes video, and I literally took my EO1 from Singe Beauty and was like all the way across my lid because it's just that beautiful. It is still available on What's Up Beauty. They actually just released another eyeshadow palette, but to me, this is one of the best eyeshadow palettes of all time. Like, you can use it for spring, you can use it for summer. It does have some more, like, fall tones in there with, like, these shades over in here, and then some of the iridescence that you can, like, put on top of it. But overall, like, I feel like this kind of transitions well into, like, all of the seasons. Another palette that you can buy, and I'm hoping that you guys kind of concur with me on this eyeshadow palette, but it is Modern Renaissance from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This hit the internet by storm like back in 2016. It is more of a warm toned color story. And again, we have that aesthetic where it goes from light to dark. And you have some like reddier berry shades in here. You do have a really nice burnt orange shade. You have a warm brown. You have a brick red shade, a lighter brown shade. And then you have some really nice, like some are satin, some are actually like more of a foil shade. But overall, this was like the talk of the town for so, 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 so long. I actually received this in a BoxyCharm recently, and I kind of like didn't understand what the hype was about, but then I tried it and I was like, I get it now. I get that it was like everybody's everyday palette. One thing I really do enjoy about this palette is it's actually kind of a mosh of like pinks and reds, like neutrals. And that's the fun part about it, is that you do have those neutral shades in there, and then you can kind of dip into the pink shades, which do tend to lean more neutral, but then you still have those colors in there. So you can create a pink eye, or if you want to go completely neutral, you can do that as well. But I honestly have to concur, like this is one of the best eyeshadow palettes. I haven't found another eyeshadow palette that has like this exact color story in it. Now I am more of a cool tone person. You guys have heard that a lot in this video, but that one is actually really fun, especially like spring, summer months, and then also sometimes like all those pink shades like Valentine's Day. Like it's just so beautiful. Okay, one that you cannot purchase anymore would be the Sultry Palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. Who is not surprised that this palette is in this video? I hear so many people raving about this palette all the time from all different directions. Anastasia actually brought this back in a 9-pan shade, and she used a lot of the cool tones in there, but she didn't include the pink, which I think is what makes up part of the color story with this eyeshadow palette. Like, this eyeshadow palette is a mixture of warm and cool tone shades. You got like Cyborg, which is one of my favorite shades on the plate. Like, it's just so beautiful. It's so metallic and like silvery and reflective. You have a deep dark black shade. You have a really nice gray shade. You have this amazing shade called Rose Quartz, which is like chef's kiss, the best rose gold eyeshadow you will ever find. And the quality of this eyeshadow palette is just beyond comprehension. It is so good. And I also like how she included in here just this like skin tone shade. It's called Fresh. And if you guys can't see from my palette, I've used this one so, 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 so much. It's really nice to do on the brow bone, on the inner corner. And then there's so many like one and done looks that you can come up with this one. This one you cannot purchase anymore. She did do like a restock, like a resell of it. So she's only ever had it available twice, but maybe she'll bring it back. And now she has the 9-pan palette, but it doesn't include the pink shades, and it's kind of more cool toned, and it reminds me of the like smoky obsessions from Huda Beauty. So like I feel like she kind of missed the bar on that one. But this one, the full version of Sultry, is gorgeous. All right, let's talk about some discontinued makeup. We love discontinued makeup, but they're still good. Some of the best of all time. We have the Kaleidos Angelica Nyqvist Club Nebula palette. This palette is really old. So old. And the packaging is so bulky and like it's huge. But Kaleidos is an independently owned makeup brand. They have quality, beautiful eyeshadows. So she did this collaboration with Kaleidos. And again, you have that beautiful gradient from light to dark. One thing I really liked about this palette was that while it looks colorful, don't get me wrong, it looks colorful. I actually feel like Angelica kind of designed this for somebody who is starting to dabble into color, and that's why I love it so, so much. Like, especially with these deeper tones in here. These are all shades that you see in like a neutral palette all the time. She just pulled them into her palette. And then you have this amazing, like very cool toned. In some lights it looks green, and in some lights it looks like a cool toned neutral brown shade. Really, really fun to play with. And then she just added some pops of color in here, and you have these amazing like duochromes as well, but they're really easy to work with, and they're kind of almost like an iridescence as well, where you just kind of like put it across the lid. Now, like I said, this eyeshadow palette, I really feel like Angelica kind of like fashioned it after somebody who's looking to dip into color. And I found myself dipping into this a lot. It got a lot of use out of it. And I found myself creating some really like colorful, comfortable, colorful looks for me. And you could go completely like bold and over the top. But like I said, a lot of these darker shades over here you see in a lot of like neutral leaning palettes. And she brought that into this palette and added some really fun pops of color and some beautiful duochromes. And honestly, like this was just such a fun palette to play with. I have two more. One of them is technically it's a singles, but it's a curation with Sydney Grace and Mel Thompson, the late Mel Thompson, I should say. So Mel Thompson curated a singles like layout from Sydney Grace of what the retro palette would look like from Natasha Denona. And honestly, I feel like she 100% spot on got this like exactly the way that it should have been. She had just enough amounts of like neutrals, pinks, greens. Like it was just such a beautiful curation to me. I tried this collaboration of product together last year, and honestly, this is like probably one of the best like holiday palettes that you could ever find. If it's still available on Sydney Grace, go check it out because it's really, really good. And if it's not, they may have the list of all the shades that were in the Mel Thompson collaboration, and you could actually purchase them individually as well. Last but not least, we have the Tati Beauty Textured Neutrals Volume 1. Obviously, this is discontinued. We also have that gradient, you know. The one thing that was really nice about this palette was that it had different textures in it, why it's called the Textured Neutrals Volume 1. And it had glitters, sequins, it had mattes, and then it also had like an actual really nice like metallic formula. And you had a mixture of warm tones and cool tones in here. You had black, you had like a warm tone, you had an orange tone, you had like these like purpley mauve shades, and then you had the glitters, which if you like glitter was in at the time when this eyeshadow palette was released. Now, this eyeshadow palette got so much use out of it, and obviously Tati is no longer creating makeup, but she's still on the platform, you know, doing makeup tutorials. But honestly, like this was one of the best eyeshadow palettes of all time. So there is my list of the best eyeshadow palettes of all time. Please consider subscribing and liking this video. What are some palettes on your list that you have for the best of eyeshadow palettes that you feel like released? Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I get to see you again. Bye!